Well, here at the Future Renting Conference in Cardiff, I'm delighted to be joined by two landlord delegates. And I've got Steve, who is an English landlord with properties in Wales. And I've got Paul, who is a Welsh landlord with properties in Wales. And guys, how important do you think events like this are for landlords in terms of improving your knowledge?
I think they are hugely important. I mean, I've only attended 2 or 3 of these, not just with the RLA, but with other organisations as well. It's inevitably the usual mix of stuff which you are interested in and stuff you're less interested in. The stuff this morning about the tax implications of incorporation I thought was really interesting. It was also interesting to hear from the Scottish speaker about how the legislation and how the whole Scottish PRS system runs and how potentially that could have implications for what goes on, not just in Wales, but obviously in England and Ireland as well.
I agree with all of that. Yes, I try and attend this sort of thing whenever I can, and landlord forums and meetings and that, and also down the more commercial end, the PIN meetings and that sort of thing. Not that you go, and as long as you're careful to take just about everything that you hear with a nice pinch of salt, it's all very useful. But these, yes, you can never know too little, can you? The more that you get to know, the better it is. And I've got to say, Steve mentioned the chap, Sean is my name, who did the tax. Yes, we met him at a previous one of these up in the Midlands, and we've used his services and can speak very highly of him. It's very, very good indeed. Yeah, very useful. Very useful points of contact. Landlording's a lonely business, and it's nice to sort of like to meet up with the people who are in the same game sometimes.
Absolutely. For me, because I'm not based in Wales, it's also great for networking and meeting people in the locality that obviously have local knowledge, letting agents, contractors and all that kind of stuff, which is not readily available to me because I'm not local. So again, it's great to be able to network with such people who might have some contacts that would be helpful.
And as these sort of different sectors become increasingly devolved, your knowledge of English legislation, obviously Welsh legislation is devolved from that as well. So for you, actually not being local to the area, events like this, I think it's great that you've travelled to come here today.
Mm-hmm. I think that's right, and while I was aware of most of the differences between English and Welsh legislation, there was a couple of things that came out this morning that I wasn't completely clear on, so that in itself is a value to come down here. It's worth the entrance fee and the train ticket just to understand those particular areas that could have tripped me up, in my future investing strategy.
Indeed. How important is it to you to be a member of a professional trade body like the RLA? Do you think it's something that more landlords should consider?
I certainly think so, yes. I mean, it's a means of getting information which isn't strained through the government propaganda machine. You're getting it sort of from the people who understand it and get its exactly how it is relevant to landlords, and especially, as you were saying, with more of this business where it's all splitting up and it's different. I got to say, I cannot see what possible sense there is in the business of letting out houses in, say, Cardiff or Newport being different and run under a different set of rules from the business of letting out houses in, say, Bristol or Bath. I can't think in what sort of Alice in Wonderland world that makes sense, but there we are. Maybe if we have a people's vote on Brexit, maybe we could ask for a rerun of the Welsh Assembly referendum that we had a few years ago.
Well, the B word has been mentioned here today, actually. We won't dwell on that too much, but having a government minister here, we had Justin Tomlinson MP here. There's a few representatives from government here. It's great that they've come along to engage in this format, isn't it?
It is great. As I said right at the top, I mean, some topics are of particular interest, others are not. I don't particularly have any tenants that are on universal credit, so therefore Justin Tomlinson's input was interesting broadly, but not particularly relevant to what I'm involved in. But yeah, it was good to have engagement from ministers to come along to events such as this.
And it creates a bit of a buzz as well when there's a government minister here, doesn't it?
This particular conference this is only the second of its type, but it does seem to attract the big hitters in terms of speakers. But it's this splitting up of governments. We've got a government minister from Cardiff and a government minister from both sort of legislating on the same sort of thing. I can't see the sense in it myself.
Indeed. So just to be close out here, are you feeling confident about being a landlord going forward into 2019?
I am, yes. I'm not entirely sure if I'm in the majority or the majority, but there was a recent survey that the RLA did, I think, about whether landlords are looking to purchase, sell, stick, and certainly I'm looking to invest further in the market in the coming year. And yes, there is a whole bunch of uncertainty, and yes, you're right, Brexit is a massive deal, but that's not putting me off.
Good to learn.
I would say cautiously optimistic, with the proper suspicions, if you like. We have just invested a little more just as we speak, although that wasn't actually part of the overall plan. We probably won't do any more. Let's let things settle out a bit. I mean, because it could all change in a heartbeat, couldn't it? I mean, we might have a general election and elect Jeremy Corbyn, and then all bets are off, aren't they? It's a different game altogether then. We'd all have to become council houses.
Well, it's uncertainty that landlords don't like, but I think that at least coming to an event like this, you are keeping in the loop, you are keeping educated and informed, and that's probably one of the best risk mitigation strategies out there.
It is. And going back to a point you made earlier about events such as this and organisations such as the RLA, one of the other big deals, I think, is the forums. What you were talking about, real world advice from real world investors.
Yes.
And I use the RLA forums. I use your Property Tribes forum, and there's loads of others as well. And that's where you don't get all the waffle and smoke screens that you do get from some speakers. You hear it from landlords who are in the game, going through the same experiences as yourself, and you can certainly learn a whole lot from that very experience.
Yeah, with the normal caveats about pinches of salts.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's good to talk to people who are actually doing it, not just talking about it. Very valuable. And people with hugely more experience than I'll ever have.
Yes.
And hugely valuable. So it's good to talk.